The infinite intro. It took 2 hours just to get started.
We've taken way longer. You're just being impatient tonight.
I mean, you said let's roll, and I was ready to roll, and here we are rolling. But it took a
You were
while to
still
get to
you
the
were still
roll.
reading. You were still reading when I said let's roll.
I'm still reading, so this is gonna be a fun episode.
It's gonna be a fun episode because I sound like I just came out of the swamp, and you are impatient and already mad at me. So
That's what people sound like. I'm more confused that this is what swamp people sound like.
I don't know what it sounds like, man. You tell me what it sounds like. I can't hear myself.
No, I'm gonna leave you that one open. I don't want to burn you too hard with your esophagus already.
Yeah, I don't know how long I'm gonna last, but we'll see. We'll see.
You got a tinge to it. I mean, you're working the tinge.
A little twang.
Yeah,
Is it
you got
twang?
you gotta put that six god accent on it, right? That Timmy's double.
Timmy's double.
Yeah, man, that double. That's ours. It's distinctly ours.
You drink double?
I've drinking 3 coffees in my life, maybe.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, but you drink energy drinks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's not a better alternative.
It's worse ones. You've drinking 3 coffees, but an energy drink is like the equivalent of 3 each time you drink it. So.
And I don't put cream and sugar in there.
Oh, who puts sugar? No. Putting sugar in your coffee is you don't do that.
Back at it again. Back at it again. Like we never left. I wanted you to drop a hot take and just burn everybody with like, what? All the people, all the sugar enthusiasts, azúcar, be mad at. Back at it again like we never left. Coke and Dank and Coke. We are the lethal weapons.
Hey, Dank.
Hey, Coke.
Apparently, you can't use beef stew as a password. It's not strong enough.
That's pretty. That one didn't need interaction. That was all you. That was good.
Just strong enough.
That's a hard word to spell. I'm not even gonna try. I'm not even gonna try.
Oh, okay. I thought you said let me try. I was like,
Nope.
Okay, go ahead.
Don't wait for anything following stro. Good enough. Nah, it's too much.
Strong enough, yeah.
Nah. I bet there's a G in there. It's all weird and everything.
Now, how many of these books were strong enough for you?
That's unearned. How dare you get me on that laugh?
Still laughing.
It's good, but it's unearned. I'm upset with both of us at this moment.
That's why I use it. Today we are covering Dstlry with no vowels.
You gonna spell it?
We kind of stumbled. What's that?
You gonna spell it?
Yeah, Dstlry with no vowels. That's all. That's
Spell it.
Dstlry. Why?
You said it again like I didn't say spell it.
We kind of stumbled on this by accident, in a way.
Sure.
Do I sound funny? Is that why you're laughing, or is it just
we're funny guys?
Wrong?
We're funny guys.
Hey.
Did you spell it wrong? I stopped listening.
I don't know. After DS, you just stopped listening, or whatever. It is an imprint, a creator-owned imprint, where the creators own their work as a piece and a piece of Dstlry itself. So, unlike big publishers where you go and write for them, if you write for Batman, you obviously don't own Batman. If you create a character in Batman mythos, you don't own that character, but you're still writing them. In this one, whatever you write, you own.
Got all the stocks and bonds. You're on ground level.
Yep.
This is Windows start team. So if this turns out great, all these guys are set to sit pretty, right? With ownership, copyrights, and kind of publishing. When the alternative was, if you're working for a big house, you have to bust your ass to make sure that this one title is good, and then you're really only known for this character that you're connected to, right? It's not necessarily you're getting paid off how great you did on a Batman issue or a Batman.
That's right. And it involves writers, artists, colorists, letterers, editors. They're all part of this. Like Raphael Albuquerque, Gabriel Ba, Martin Morazzo, whole bunch. You can just go down the list.
I
There's like
thought you were gonna lock in
I'm not
because
gonna
you,
go through the whole list because
you
there's a ton.
you started on it. I was
I
like, all
started
right,
and I was like, I'm not doing this.
there's a lot of names there, Coke.
Yeah, there's a lot of and what it's awesome. It's always good to see creators being treated properly, right? Like you
Yep.
put all this work into it. And I understand it's part of the deal. Like with the big publishers, it's part of the deal, right? We'll let you write for us. You'll get an instant fan base, but whatever you create, you don't really own. We
Yeah, that's
do.
luckily enough. There's studio houses like that that says that's not a good deal. We can make a better deal, right? And you can see alternatives out there because
Yeah.
for anyone trying to get into the industry, you don't want it to have to be the same shitty way it was 10 years ago, 5 years ago, even 2 years ago, right? This is 2023 that this company was established. How long ago?
In the past few years, so it's only been around for less than uh 4 or 5 years. So it's brand new. And like even then, the early books, there's only a couple of them. Now there's about a dozen. As of today, there's about a dozen out in the wild. We're gonna cover about 10 different ones
Yeah.
today. Um, because
Fuck those other two.
well, we couldn't get a hold of them. Yeah, which is crazy. We just couldn't get a hold of them.
No patrol for you.
No patrol for you. Those two books are Blasphemous and Through Red Windows. Actually, well, throughout. To be fair, the only one we couldn't get a hold of was Blasphemous, which was one of the earliest books, which is what I found weird that we couldn't find a copy of it.
Some might
Through
even
Red
say that's
Windows,
some might even say that's blasphemous.
Blasphemous. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. Through Red Windows comes out on the 27th of this month. So,
So
my,
fuck them, or we're gonna jump on that for.
we're doing it
on
before,
a,
so
yeah.
maybe we'll go back. We'll go back to that, but
As if 10 wasn't enough.
it's
You
is
soft
plenty.
cheeses, you
Yes,
get what we give you. It's good. There's a whole bunch of stinky cheese in this run, and some tasty cheese.
he's strong enough.
Listen, don't burn yourself too early. We have 10 comics to go through, and you make it a solid laugh if you place that
We do have Dengongs.
strogie at the end.
Um, yeah. So the one we couldn't do was Blasphemous, and that is by Mirka and Dolfo. Uh, yeah, Mirka and Dolfo. I guess to do both. So we aren't going to be covering that one. But oh look, I think there's actually a few more that have come out since we did that, like just this week at the time of recording. So there won't be in this either because we didn't prep for those. But
Yeah, new meats, listen up. This is the stuff that we're choosing not to do because we planned too well in advance.
yeah, yeah,
had
possibly.
we had we been procrastinators, we would have got 12 titles for you. But no. 10.
No, but we could not find the other one. So whatever.
What's your over under? Do you think it's gonna the one that we haven't read and can't read? Do you think it's gonna be better than the
No,
middle of the
based on what
pack or
I've
worse
seen,
than the
because
middle?
I've seen little bits of it, it doesn't really strike me as anything crazy. But you at the same time, you can't judge a book by its cover. So
I mean, that's literally what we're doing.
yeah, maybe right this moment. Do you think you
Yeah.
like it? No, not really. But you can't judge it by that. What you just did.
But don't admit that you can't because we will. But
Yeah. If we are nothing,
you're
if
saying
not
bot math.
hypocrites on the show. Okay.
Listen, we enjoy hypocrisy as long as we get to point out our own hypocrisy.
Mm.
I don't want you doing it. Get out of here. Don't add
You
me.
can be that thing. You just got to be able to make fun of that thing that you're being.
You are who we thought we are.
I said that, Noah. Okay, we'll go through it. The Big Burn.
Are you locking in? Is that you gonna do that for each title?
Yeah, the Big Burn. I'll let it
Yeah.
just linger.
Play into your broken throat. Just
Joe
have
Henderson,
have fun with titles.
Joe Henderson, and Lee Garbett. So,
Strong
Pair of
cover.
Thieves.
Oh,
What's that?
okay. I was just gonna say, like, I don't know if we're gonna do cover by cover, but strong cover, right? I'll give it that.
Oh, you want to talk about the covers? Yeah. Okay, go ahead. You can
Listen,
describe
because
the
we're
covers.
just
How
going
about that?
fast, right?
Yeah, yeah. Just go the covers.
In the background, dripped in red is, I guess, the main antagonist, which name I don't have, but he's
The devil.
a dapper individual. Two single braids down to, I guess, his chest, and a braided beard. He's sitting with a cane, so you know shit's legit. And then in the foreground, then we have our two protagonists, and then Break Burn with a pair of skull dice in the corner on a really interesting font of what they used for the title. So that will kind of give you the first kind of hint of what you could expect there with those. Skull die.
You can speak up a little bit too.
Cool.
Yeah, so a pair of thieves meet each other, fall in love, run heists together, and then sell their souls to the devil for their freedom because they got caught, right?
Yep.
Um, Now they have the opportunity to break into a vault in hell, which is a casino. It presents itself as a casino, hell does, and steal their souls back. They just have to work out their differences and build a team of other soulless thieves. It's the premise, right?
Yeah. Ocean's 11 in hell.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Cool idea. Not completely original
Sure.
because, we've seen this sort of thing before, but the tone is what
Have we?
got me.
We've seen devils try to, or like,
Oh,
uh,
just,
stealing back your souls.
no, not so much the soul thing, but just like,
Heist.
here's a heist.
Yeah.
It's a vault in a strange place, and you got to break into it. So this type of thing will revolve heavily around the characters, right, and
True.
the twists and turns that go through. For me, I did not dig the tone of this at all or the pacing.
Okay.
Like they could have left the whole how they met out and started with him
Yeah.
being bagged by the loan shark. Like, they could have started there. The
Sure.
part where the loan shark comes
Yeah.
in and
Yeah.
like
Well, action sort of hits in. Everything else is setting up characters, which
open with that because
yeah,
the whole how they met the two characters is so rushed. It's like, okay, so you didn't need any of that. You could have just said
yeah.
we've been together for X amount of years.
And the way that you think the book is planning out, we're gonna get plenty of interactions with these two anyway, so you can drip that out if you really want to.
Yeah. Yeah. It seemed like just kind of chewing up the pages. So did nothing for me. The whole reveal that they're gonna go into hell and bring out the devil. I don't know the tone, it's very like forced jokey. Like, oh, this isn't that funny. Oh, well, here we go. Now it's hot in here.
So that's why I said to you, like it's kind of like a forced procedural. Like it's kind of like it's got that
Yes,
like
yes,
CSI Miami ish, the CSI Las Vegas kind of. You could see this as a TV show because we've seen TV shows about the devil. It's crazy. The one cool thing you could have turned up about this comic is like this cool dude in hell. So like all the fun stuff that you could have been in this casino and like what hell casino looks like that's where like the meat and potatoes is, right? Like that's where your imagination can fly. And then you make it so crazy that the fact that like these normal thieves have to find a way to break in. So I'm interested in what it could potentially be, but I can see you saying like this one for the first one, there's so many missed opportunities to like
yeah,
grip me and like okay cool like I want to see if these guys can break into hell. Like that's huge, like that statement alone based on whatever however you believe in heaven or hell, right? Like that seems like a cool premise if two thieves have to break into a casino in hell to steal back their souls. I would read
yeah.
that comic. It just doesn't come off as sharp and punchy as you would want it.
You're right. It is kind of the way they present it because like there is a good idea there. It's just not presented the most effective way,
Yeah,
right?
and
Like
I
I
don't
think we
know.
both agree on that.
Fair, and I don't know if this is a book that it's trying to pace itself to show us like how crazy it can get, or like this how the heist is going to build. But the heist is the clinker, right? Like that's the stuff that you can relate to. Obviously, movies we've done or other properties. It's the hell that like you should really have fun. So if this book doesn't grip me off, like, is this devil someone I'm going to cheer for or someone I don't care about? Like, is this an anti-hero like a Gandolfini, where I end up being like, oh fuck, I gotta see what this guy does, or is it going to
Yeah.
turn into the guy that played Lucifer, and I don't know his name, so like lets you know
Oh
how
yeah,
much
yeah,
I
yeah,
know
yeah.
all about the TV show Lucifer, right? So tonally, I think it's missing that bite of heaven, right? Because you can have so much fun with that shit.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. Do you want to rank this as we go, or do you? No, at the end, right?
No, I would do it at the end,
Yeah,
and we're
me
not doing
neither.
like a
Okay.
definitive ranking. It's just the like I think
Oh,
the top three. They're like I go back to this.
realistically, we've read one issue of each of these. That is not enough to judge a series, right? It's just kind of like initial impressions.
I
So
again love how you wait till after we judge it in order to say, nah. I mean, we only read one.
to judge a full series, I don't like where this is going. It could just like if I don't like the tone of this is the big thing for me.
Sure.
That tone's probably not going to change. So
If anything, Coke and Dank are stressing that first issue punch, right? Like if you can't
yeah,
grip us off of, especially if you're brand new in the industry, right? This is not a Batman. This is not a Superman. This is not a character I already understand in a world and want to jump in to see how you tell your stories. You're giving us brand new shit. So like, you kind of want to shoot for the moon in that first one. At least
Yeah,
something to grip you to get to the next.
yeah, you're selling us these characters, this
Yeah.
world, this story. So you really got to make it. He said the perfect first issue punch, right? It's like, oh, okay, well, okay, Blood Brothers Mother, written by Brian Azzarello, who we know from 100 Bullets,
Yes.
Batman Damned, Before Watchmen. He's done a whole bunch of DC stuff,
So
and drawn by,
he's made his name,
yes, oh yes,
and now he's getting his money on his own
100,
initiative.
Bullets is award winning. So
Yeah, Hundred Bros is
Edward,
good.
yeah, and drawn by Eduardo Risso. So in this bad boy, it's a western where we
Correct.
follow a man who ends up being a criminal out of a Mexican prison, who was bailed out by his friends and is on the hunt for his lady 5 years later.
Right. I'll describe the cover as pretty stark.
Oh, yeah,
It almost looks like a coloring book with like the black borders and the way that it's profiled of the lead character.
yeah.
It's so rough and kind of jagged that I can see a lot of people not even giving it a second look, and that's such. This is so not the book to judge by the cover,
Hmm.
because what you're missing from what you think is color or detail or what's happening off the cover, it explodes as soon as you kind of open the pages.
Yeah, I agree. There are a few different covers. You look at the one where it's just the guy's the side profile.
Yeah, and the church and the little steeple in the background. I like
Horrible cover. Not a
that.
good cover at all. It tells you like it's really not good. Because this book actually was good.
Yeah,
I thought I like this one. It was dark, disturbing, and full of characters I want to know more about,
correct.
and they were all very morally gray. That was interesting because they're introduced to through the one guy that comes out of prison, and you think he's going to be like the good guy.
Nope.
But then he's a piece of shit. But then he
Yep.
does good things along the way. Like it's
So this is
they,
what I completely love about the book. Sorry to cut you.
yeah,
It knows what a western is, and it completely gives you these morally ambiguity and kind of anti-hero characters. They're
yeah,
really just men going by day to day, and in any day you can be a fucking champion and a hero and save like all the women and children, or you can be a piece of shit. And again, this book found a lot of pieces of shit. What doubles down on how great the characters that you're talking about and kind of learning about each different one is the explosion and the way that they did the watercolors is unlike anything you've ever seen, and it kind of fits the tone of western, which is insane. It's
yeah.
so simple but it's so detailed, and the way that they mix cool colors and warm colors in specific times when shit's going down is so fucking visually satisfying
Mhm.
that it's such a good page turner. It's such a good page turner.
And what was cool about this one, it was kind of uncomfortable.
Hmm.
Like reading it makes you feel a little bit weird, and that's maybe it's not a I don't know if you call it a good thing, but it's effective writing.
Yeah.
So it's just strength, right? It's like this is weird because you feel like the main character is going to be this way because he does a noble thing that you see
Hmm.
within when they come across those wagons,
You're right.
and then it turns around and he's kind of like, wow, this guy's like maybe like you're saying maybe
Not
not
the
really who I thought he was.
and you
Um,
give credit to the writing, but I think agreeing with you, the art, like the amount of emotions that I got to see in each character's faces. That's why the
mm,
cover sucks so much. Like it's a good one shot, but there's such amazing paneling where you get a close up on these characters and you can just see like the agony, the terror, the fear, the hunger, each individual emotion of how everybody's kind of suffering in this world and like everybody's kind of suffering in this world. So like double downing on understanding the tone and the environment of what it is back here. Man, like the art just really punctuates everything that the words are bringing you along the way.
no, it's true. But it, yeah, this one was I just didn't expect what was going on. So that let's like you said, well done, Western.
Yeah, very
And
well
this
done.
one I would continue reading, and I'm planning to continue reading, but
Right on.
I don't know, so many books. Um, moving on to Gone by Jock Will Dennis and Emma Price. Um, Jock, I don't know if I've ever written things that I never read anything that he's written before. I know he's done art for the Losers. the Black Mirror, Witches, which is where I know him from the most, with Scott
Mhm.
Snyder. But he's taken up the writing duties in this one. And Gone is, it's a futuristic world. Oh, do you want to talk about the cover first?
Sure. This is
Uh,
an incredibly distinct and well done cover. It's Gone has its own typography, but the O is kind of, I guess, shaded out to look like a planet or a moon, or kind of
mm,
understanding this is space. The protagonist is sitting in kind of the corner, off center focus, but the world around her is so congested and so busy and filled with, I guess, tech is, for lack of a better word, it's just junk, especially like when it comes down to it. But you
space
understand
junk.
space junk. You understand like this is definitely future because she's surrounded and condensed and kind of shrunken into this world that's so much junk around her. So yeah, it's a good distinct way to open a book, I think.
Yeah, so like I said, in a futuristic world where the poor are left on a dying planet and the rich are shuttled around in big luxury ships, we meet a girl named Abby who uses these ships, these giant luxury ships, as opportunities to steal food and supplies for her pregnant mother and herself. Until one day she wants to do one more job. It's always one more job, eh?
Yeah.
On the biggest ship they've ever seen, and tags her team up with some older people for the first time, which they don't usually do, who end up trying to sabotage the ship instead of stealing from it. And she gets locked on it.
Yeah. So kind of a lot going on, like a lot to
Yeah.
drop you into.
Yeah, there's a lot there. I thought the premise and setup were really cool.
Hmm.
Interesting characters in a very dire situation. I like how she isn't the only stowaway on the ship,
Right.
and that there's actually like saboteurs on there with her, and they're like blowing up parts of the ship while it's moving,
Hmm.
and they're trying to figure out um where it's coming from, and she's kind of like she's with them but she's not with them.
Right.
So it's kind of like this weird like it's like, no, I'm not one of them guys, but I'm not really one of you guys either. I'm just kind of, I'm here trying to survive, right?
Right. For me, this seemed to like go on and doesn't want to end, so I
Mm,
didn't like it. It was very close to like whoosh, if not whoosh. Like it was a lot of and then, and I didn't like that. Like I get like trying to make a big stamp with your first issue, but it seems like it had so many loose storylines to start off with. Like I don't care about. I shouldn't have to care about all these people that like you're throwing at me in this first one, and I don't really care about Abby, to be honest with you. I love the artwork. That's kind of what kept me page turning in this one, but it seemed dense and the world is already claustrophobic. Like I kind of wanted a smoother ride. I don't know if I got it, but again, this is the first issue, right? So I like the whole survive and thrive sort of mentality, but I felt like there's a lot of gears in motion for that first one that just
there's a
didn't want to wrap up and be succinct for me.
there is a lot going on. There's a lot of characters thrown at you. Some don't seem to be like super important, so I don't know
Sure.
how many you are supposed to know, but they do kind of blend together too.
Mhm.
I kind of focused on Abby. I was like, okay, I'll just focus on her and the chef.
Yeah, chef
'Cause-
was cool.
but even at the ending, when things start like shit hits the fan, I was getting confused because I'm like, wait, who's on what side? Like, what's
Yeah,
going on here? Who's
yeah.
like the chef? What is that? So I get what you're saying. Like I said, I like the premise of it. I think that's
Mhm.
cool. How like
The look is amazing. Like the world looks
yeah,
definitely lived in, and you understand. Like there's certain panels and pages where you see Abby like traversing how far it is to get from point A to point B. So it's massive and it's huge. Like the art is beautiful, but
yeah,
again, uh, I just wanted less characters to have to worry about. Like it would have been for me more effective if, other than the chef, it's like all these guys are in passing, or at least distinctly drawn differently. They're all kind of wearing the same muted colors. Like they're all
yeah,
kind of the same archetyped in this world. And again, I barely cared about her, so you're not gonna make me care about this random guy for three
yeah. It's
pages.
yeah. You kind of, because there's so much going on. You kind of have to read a little bit more to get a sense of everybody. But at the same time, if the first issue doesn't grab you like it should,
Right.
why would you want to read more? So it's kind of a maybe for me. But
Whoosh.
I didn't hate it. Yeah, there you go. Whoosh. Move on to Life, also written by Brian Azzarello and Stephanie Phillips. And they're writing together for this for the first time. And artist I'm gonna butcher this, Danielle Zelzelch.
I think you got it.
Yeah, I don't know if I get it or not. And then colors Lilu Red, who we know from Deadly Class, right?
Right.
So light.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I'll cover and then we'll do
Yep.
what
Do
it's
you think?
about. Cover's amazing. It's striking. Essentially, it's this main character in middle focus. In I guess is floating in space, but he's covered or about to be covered in like pink hues. He's holding an axe and it looks like he's just bleeding the world that he stand on. But like coming off of him and disjointed are all these semi bodies that it's kind of like a tree built around him. I'm not doing it justice describing it, but there's a central focus on who that main character is. There's definite indicators that he has enemies and he has weapons, and it's enough that you're just like, if you walked by it, it would pull your peripherals and you'd be like, what is this? And have to open a page.
So basically, a team of thieves are going to an old abandoned prison planet to steal some valuables from a secret stash that the old warden or boss had hid away. In a confusing time and perspective jump, we get the other side of the story from a serial killer who was booked into that prison for 30 something consecutive life sentences. But somehow, 276 years later, the serial killer and his executioner are still alive,
Mm-hmm.
inhabiting the prison planet and looking for a way off. Lots of characters here,
Yes.
confusing presentation, but the last page ties it up in a way that makes so much sense. It turns a simple heist plot into something deeper by planting questions in the reader's head.
Yes.
I don't know how else to say that. It was like
And I will
it's a,
say, I like that I agree with you. Like, there's a lot going on, but the writer understood the environment and where to put them. It put them all centered, stuck on this one spot. So you're in space; it's already dangerous. You have all the same clutter, but you're not going from point A to point B. You're not introducing a whole bunch of other people. Everybody that's here is here, and you don't like that everybody's here. And that shit helped fucking tie a lot of stuff when it gets to the good parts.
yeah.
So
I'm not even criticizing. I'm like I don't. When I say confusing presentation, I don't necessarily mean it as a bad thing. It
from
it's like what is going on with them
yeah,
but it's interesting like how
yeah.
does this all connecting and like what is this.
For me, I wrote peeling layers. Like you're getting
Mm-hmm.
information, but you don't know where to put it. And then as
Mm-hmm.
you're going deeper, you're like, okay, this makes sense to this. To when you finally get to the pages that we're talking about at the end, it's such a reward for all the confusion you thought it was. It's kind of like being jet lagged and then going, then getting your feet back under you because you're kind of confused, but there's so much to enjoy and kind of keep reading in this world. Because again, I'm not speaking up enough how great the artwork is. I love how they bleed past the paneling and even behind the actual action is artwork. Each silhouette is bathed completely. Like they understand what the ship looks like. They understand what space looks like. They understand like the depth of. I want to say Sora. Like there's a weird sadness to this, just because I know it's not going to work out for a lot of people in this book, but they managed to. I love all the silhouette stuff they do. It's like really good with shadow, but there's always like this level of distance, even though I feel like they're stuck together. But like this, the isolation and loneliness definitely hits in this book, and I think that's more on the artwork, which is I think is fantastic.
Yeah, artwork and it's fantastic and it fits the vibe
Mm-mm.
where the big burn misses with the tone, this one just
Yes,
nails it and it like
and then rewards you for
yeah,
being confused early.
yeah, exactly, because it does once you're done the issue you're curious, not
Yeah,
confused. You're like,
yeah.
oh, how does this work? This is so fucking cool.
This is definitely one of my like. Oh, I can't wait to see what happens this next issue because
Yeah, I'm with. Yeah,
I'm already invested in like half these guys.
yeah, same. Okay, moving on to the missionary, written by Ryan Stegman. We know from Venom, Superior Spider-Man, or yeah, X-Men, Vanish, and artist Jason Howard, who's worked on things like Batman, Trees. Oh, Trees! I forgot about that one. Big Girls, The Astounding Wolfman. They create the missionary, and this is a guy named Bryce. This one opens. Bryce has never had a blowjob.
Okay, let me give you the
Right.
cover before you get.
That's yeah. That's how. Let me get.
There's so many ways you could have started. That's probably the best way to start. Okay, so the cover is pretty simple, pretty clean, and pretty interesting enough to get you in because the center focus is Brian essentially with his back to you, the reader. His eyes are glowing red, and the font of missionary is the same sort of kerning as another also red painted on edition, which is looks like a demon's tail to the back of Brian.
Mhm.
So like
Bryce.
Bryce, my mistake. So you're already intrigued of like what's going on here. The fact that they called him a missionary, but the word is bathed in red. He already looks like a demon, and in the background there's this would be church house, but it's actually library, like city hall kind of thing.
And it looks very like spooky, like intense. But then the first page is literally him saying, "My name is Bryce. I've never had a blowjob."
Yeah, I'd say it's
Because
menacing, but like nothing
there you
scary.
go,
Like you're more
menacing.
like,
Right.
this is a fun guy. What's going on here? Right?
Menacing is a better word.
Yeah.
Menacing is a better word. Yes.
The book proves to be menacing with what happens in it. It's kind of super
Yeah.
fun.
And that's how the book starts. So there's no confusion on what the tone here will be. He catches his wife cheating and somehow gets possessed by a demon who
Mhm.
quickly feels pity for him and
Yes.
they become actual friends. While this is going on, some other demons have gone their own way, beat down Satan, and are planning on taking him and God down for good. So what stands out to me here in this book
Mhm.
is the art.
Yes,
Art
beautiful.
is really, really fun. Really
Fast paced
fun.
action, dynamic. Like
Yeah.
no two
Colorful.
panels. No two panels are the same, and the way that you're getting information is so much more fun
And it,
because it doesn't slow down.
no, and it matches the tone, which is almost like I wrote almost like a slice of life, but with angels and demons and possession and cussing.
Right.
I don't know what this is. I'm into this, whatever it is, at least to see what happens next.
Yeah.
It's because it's silly. Like it's actually kind of silly because
It
Bryce
knows
is this
it knows it's a
pushover.
fun
Yeah,
world. Yeah. No. It knows.
yeah,
And again, I wrote down it's kind of this Venom symbiote pairing. So the
yes,
demon kind of plays up as this like goofy sidekick, but like has lead powers. But like I grew to enjoy all the characters that I get to meet because they're coming in different places and have like different roles and jobs. So when we got the reveals that we got, I was like, okay, I'm kind of into this, right? It's gothic, it's goofy, it's bloody, and the fact that this is what you do when you're talking about hell and demons, like this is how you show it. Like this is kind of the fun and excitement that you can have for a reader. So when we talk about Big Bang, like imagine getting some of these kind of like demon shots where like they're firing after them and just explosions of like the fight scenes and like how much detail and fun is and color is thrown in like those pages. Like there's so many headshots and like just like things that would be grotesque, but the artwork makes it like refined in still a comic sort of fun sense. Like I was never worried, I was never scared, but I was definitely like, oh no, that's a cool world. Like some shit's gonna fucking go down. I loved it.
yeah. It got me. Like I said, it knew what it was, right?
Hmm.
And the stakes are high, but it's silly and it's kind of fun. And it actually, when you read it together with the other books, especially the ones we've already talked about,
Right.
it's like a palate cleanser in a way. Like
Yeah.
it switches it a bit because it's actually like it's not taking itself too serious.
That's the best comment. This is the first one that does not take itself seriously. This is not.
Exactly. So
It's life and death, but it doesn't feel like it's life and death to the participants in the con.
yeah. Okay, One for Sorrow is up next. Jamie McKelvey is back, and he hasn't had a creator-owned comic in over a decade. So he previously did the art for Wicked and Divine, Captain Carter, Catwoman, One Bad Day, to name a few. So this one here, what I write for this preview of what comes out November 6th. So this is one of the ones that we read the preview for, but didn't want to read the full issue. That
All
to read
right,
the
fair
ash
enough.
can, right? It takes place in the 1900s and is based around a couple who swindle the wealthy noble who are desperate to know about their heritage and lost ones. There's also a magpie killer running about from the past who wears a plague doctor's mask. Like I said, we didn't read the full issue, but the preview was about two-thirds of one, maybe half of one.
And the artwork lends itself to
Oh yeah,
kind
there we
of
go.
the magpie killer. So you get him in the foreground with his beak pointing through as he's in profile, looking off at a streetlight in the background. Like this is an amazing mood book. Like definitely set mood for me when I was reading this. The streetlight is bright blue, and the city night is stark blue. In the cape, of the Magpie is the characters that will probably follow along, and a lot of kind of little clues of maybe what will happen and unfold. Think Victoria era. So if you're thinking From Hell, comic book, not the movie, a lot of blood soaked reds, muted reds, browns, blacks, and danger. So definitely inviting. A lot of mystery looks like it's happening here. I like the mood, but this is definitely a book that takes itself too seriously.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Yeah,
And unfortunately, I've read a Victorian serial killer at large, and it's still with me, for good or for bad.
I know
So,
you're gonna
like,
say.
those are huge shoes that you're trying to step into. And
Yeah.
not to say you didn't do a good job. 'Cause again, this is one issue from what could be, how many pages was fucking From Hell? Like
Oh, it's huge. Yeah, it was huge.
500 or some shit like that.
And
The little I got, I didn't mind, but I don't think it's as strong as where it'll eventually get to.
and that's kind of the problem with taking books into this era. Because I
Mhm.
don't know about you, but I guess just based on what you said, for me, it's kind of like I immediately compare it to From Hell.
Yeah.
From Hell is one of the best books I've ever read. So it's like, oh man, come on. So even I wrote, I was like, it was okay. Nothing spectacular or
Hmm.
specifically interesting about it, but it did have a slight sort of From Hell vibes.
Hmm.
But I think that's only because of the setting. No real likable characters so far, so hard to connect with it. That was my problem. I was kind of like, I don't really like anybody here.
Yeah, so that's why I was expecting everyone to eventually die. But we don't get a lot of murder here. We get a lot of
Right.
setup for each of these characters. Again, sharp, clean, but takes itself seriously. So I'm not reading this book for fun or just like to pick up on a whim. I'm probably going to follow an arduous journey from murder to murder, town to town, like
Yeah. Yeah.
secret to secret, mystery to mystery, right? So it could potentially be great world building and an amazing mystery graphic novel when completed. But issue one, man, again, big shoes.
Yeah.
Beautiful
Uh,
artwork.
oh yeah, no, no, yeah, it's definitely not ugly. None of these books are really ugly so far. That we've
But they're
talked about.
all stylized differently, which I appreciate. Like, no, I have yet to find two books that look alike, and that's kind of a dream if you're opening a production house.
I agree. Okay, Somna by Becky Cloonan and Tula Lote. And they both are taking turns writing and drawing. So it's pretty
Hmm.
good. That's kind of cool. That's really
Yeah,
cool. Um,
ambidextrous.
combo there.
You get your Coke and Dank Ambidextrous Award. Way to do two jobs. Hopefully, you
This
get it
this
twice
one
the
already
cheaper.
has this one already has 3 issues
Yeah,
out.
they're churning them out, which I'm kind of excited for.
So that's what I was going to get. You know, talk about the cover. Talk about the cover.
This is it's very haunting cover. There's a woman in the foreground, dead eyes, like porcelain doll face, long flowing black hair. It's kind of got the gothic sort of curls on it and everything like that. As she crawls, and she's like pale alabaster. As she crawls in, I guess like a nightie or a dress, like a white dress.
Mhm,
In the background is a what could be described as like a tree straight out of a Tim Burton's film. Like
mhm,
there's something, and she's leaning on an altar which has a distinct symbol in it. Right, the only kind of flashes of color are at the base, which is a couple leaves and these orange butterflies. So it kind of looks like a tarot card. It definitely looks like you know what you're getting into with the feeling and tone. Oh, I can't say tone, but like feeling and mood
mhm.
because it's so distinct. And again, like if I ever saw it, this reminds me of like a tarot card or like some sort of
Yeah.
occult or fortune teller sort of feel.
So this is what I wrote for it. This is like reading erotica, but it's also so strange. It's old
Okay.
timey in that it's a witch hunt kind of a book where the main character is used to this rigid way of life where her husband is a bailiff and burns witches he sniffs out.
Yeah.
But in her dreams, she's visited by this like sexual deviant of a demon or something who
Hmm.
she constantly gets freaky with. And it's like,
What am I supposed to make of this book?
yes, yes. But it's interesting. But
Very
it's
much so.
I didn't think I was like while I was reading, I was like, I don't really think I'm gonna like this. It doesn't seem like my kind of book. But by the time I got to the end of it, I was like,
This
this
is
is
good.
really cool. Like I don't
Yeah, so
what is
interesting.
going
I
on?
want to know more. It uses its art to its favor, so it's completely stylized, black and white. It only uses orange on certain characters and certain things, so that highlights even better. But the way that they panel and the way that they get to, I love when like they'll make a picture of like a castle and then they'll change a different panel to show like the hallway that they use to walk down the castle. And I don't
Mm,
know the style of to say how it's tiled. There's so many different expressions and different levels of the character and the surrounding in that one page as they get you through this. Because I wrote down a would-be witch is in prison, and it's just a witch chase, right? It's a very simple
yeah.
story of like she's a witch, and kind of like they march her to a prison, but like you get to see the whole town, you get to see her whole world, you get to see everybody's interaction to what this could be, and then the kicker, the twist is what's going on in maybe her subconscious, maybe another dimension, like maybe right now, like I don't
See,
know what to
that's
make of that.
oh, I'm so glad you brought that up because I do want to talk about that. Because
It's good.
yeah, whatever is the vibe of the book is creepy and very appropriate for the timepiece. I'm not sure how much I personally like it because it's probably not for me, but the character's dilemma is interesting to watch unfold. And I'm curious to learn how real or fake the visitor is.
Hmm.
Whether it's just whether it is a demon and she's a witch, or it's just her repressed sexuality, like trying to like
There's so many different ways you can go with
there's
it,
some
and
angles there, yeah.
this definitely gets like an award for whether or not I liked it. I definitely got to read the next one, right? Like it
Yeah,
has
we're in the same boat. We're in the
it's
same.
just such a grip to you to be like, what's going on here? Like, and
Yeah.
that's one of the best feelings you can have reading it. Like, I'm so confused, but not to the point that I'm frustrated and I no longer want more. Give me more of this, and
Yeah,
all the art
because
styles you're using is helping to lean into that.
you can tell this woman is like I'm assuming she's younger than her husband, right?
Yeah,
So she's she just stays at home basically. So she wants to get freaky with him when he's here, and he's like any kind. But in this world, in this time, any type of sexual advances from a woman, if it's too aggressive, he's like, "What's wrong with you?
yeah.
Like, I'm
Like
tired."
Protestant, like everything's about church and like
Yeah,
so
it's
like
this weird.
she's
Yeah,
made out to be the weirdo when having like the most normal feelings of everyone else.
exactly. Yeah,
Everyone
it's
else is repressed,
really
and the only way that they can
yeah,
like challenge that repression is to like point the finger and accuse people of being witches. Like, man,
exactly. It's so
women
weird.
never
Yeah.
had a chance. God damn,
No,
like it was rough times.
it's such a strange but interesting look, and then,
Hmm.
like the way it's written and drawn, art is beautiful. It's very moody, and it's just the way it's presented is like,
A lot of blacks, a lot of shadows, a lot of
yeah,
not silhouettes, but like detail and line work because they do a lot of close ups on the faces. So like you feel for her every time you see her because she's just like, can I love you? And it's like, no, you heathen. It's
it's
like,
like get
what's wrong
away from me,
with
yeah. Don't you know I'm tired? It's like, oh man,
you?
like
It's such a hypocrisy type of book, and I say that not using hypocrite properly, but the fact that you've given us such a stark black and white, and we're so on the black side of like, no, I think she's in the right. Like
yeah,
I would definitely disappear in my mind if like this is my reality. Fuck this shit, right? So
yeah. She's got no escape, yeah,
I'm so interested in what happens next because I really want her to be powerful. I really want her to find an escape her situation. I really want to know what's fucked up about this town.
yeah,
And again, the art is something that you said erotica, and I'm glad you said that because there's a romance to the way that it's drawn. It sucks you in. Like there's
mm,
moments where like it's just her, and even before to get to the actual erotica, like there are moments. I think like the art always leads her to be by herself and then like longing for something, and then that switch happens, and you get
yeah,
to see like the whole art style changes. Like it gets softer and like bathed, and like different types of colors are used. It's like it's again, we're talking circles about this. I don't think we rated this as high as we were going to until we talked to each
yeah,
other.
yeah,
But there's a lot going on for this book.
yeah. And it's so funny that we feel exactly the same about it. We haven't talked about it before. It's really cool.
Yeah, I'm glad we made sure not to like give each other the rundown of what we thought of each book.
Because sometimes we do, but today it was just like, no, let's just get into it.
We'll do it live. Do it live.
We're doing it live. Okay. Next is Spectrograph. Um, written by James Tinian the Fourth. We know him from most recently, Something That's Killing the Children.
Hmm.
Something is Killing the Children. Sorry, I wasn't sure if I enunciated that right the first time. And Christian Ward. And this book, oh
Crazy
yeah,
cover.
talk about
Yeah,
the
let me
cover.
just
Talk
double.
about the cover. Yeah,
So Spectrograph is drawn out in its own formatting. It looks like a blueprint. So the stylized letters are baked into kind of line work and clean rectangles. So everything's straight and of the time. The G is definitely spotlighted because it has more kind of line work and kind of looks like a sun or a compass, depending on what you think about it. Background is blue and fine. The foreground has, I guess, a jade house, and
Mm.
it's monochromatic, going from dark black at the top and then bathing out into the jade bright green into the foreground. What catches your eye is quite literal, a blood soaked green eye in the center of the frame that's bleeding out a red trail of blood into the center of the book. So you definitely get points for what the hell is going on
Yeah,
here.
yeah. The cover's eye catching for sure, and there's some time jumps in this. So it starts in 1981, then like the story moves to 1967, and then eventually forward again into 2024.
Mhm.
And it's all about a giant machine that was built into a large house that can somehow separate, at least from what I gather, separate the soul from the body.
Right,
And the different dates are used to advance the storytelling so the reader can kind of catch up on the plot.
right.
Because it goes back kind of far and they jump. This is where it started. This is where, it kind of peaked. And then this is now.
For me, this is one of the only books where the art was definitely stronger than the writing, and the art is definitely worth turning the page.
Mm-hmm.
I like the concept. I like what you want to tell me. I don't like how you told it to me because with all the time jumps and me being brand new reader, I was lost all the way until kind of the final. And even in the final, they're trying to set you up for what could happen in the next issue. And I don't know if I like the paranormal team that is trying to figure out what they're trying to figure out. Um, I just really appreciated the art more than the writing, and that was kind of the tail of the tape with how much I enjoyed the book.
I agree too. And you know me, I'm big on character. I'm big on characters, and none of these characters really did it for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, we end up with this real estate agent who's just like a space cadet. Leaves
Yeah,
her kid in the high chair for
yeah.
like 20 minutes while she's driving to do this this
I did
this
laugh
sale.
at
I was like,
that.
what is this?
You definitely don't want to be a mother. Like you want to be about your business
Yeah.
and your career. Like cool, but that's
And her job is to sell this house to like some cult, and
mhm.
she gets mixed up with the machine at the end in the bottom right. It's like, I do agree with you because the premise is cool, the setup is interesting, but how they go about it, I was kind of like,
Yeah. And for the first one, the amount of time jumps, and for me to understand like this character is supposed to mean this and this, like first one out, like how many time jumps do you really
yeah, there's
need
three,
to
yeah.
establish?
And I found that past stuff more interesting than the present day
Present,
stuff,
yeah. Well,
like
I
how it
feel
was
like
all
all the
started.
present stuff really relied on artwork, right? Like that's where all the fun breaking of the like third dimension and the fourth wall, and like what the artist does with what time travel is, and kind of what that room is, and all the things that can go on. Totally inviting, but
Yep.
it's not that the writing is shallow. It's just I don't know if it's clear enough for me to get into the from this issue to the next issue. Because if I'm confused leaving, I'm not like can't wait to that second issue.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Uh,
don't. Yeah, I wouldn't. Like, I'd be happy leaving it here. I just
yeah,
didn't.
I mean I think it is gonna get left
y-
here.
Yeah, I think so too.
Great cover, love the cover,
Cover's really cool. Yeah. So next up is Time Waits
which is from your pull list, which is awesome.
from my pull list. Yeah, I was gonna say that. Uh,
You stole my bit.
so written by Chip Zdarsky with David Brothers and Marcus too.
Your boy.
And you want to talk about? You can talk about the cover because I never did with my pull list, right?
Oh, fair enough. So time waits is in the top right hand corner, and it's got that retro like '70s or old school Blue Jays fans. The double line work, triple line work, where
Yeah.
they follow Time uh, in the same like neon groove. I was trying to figure out that word. Next to time waits is looks like officers bathed in gray, blue and gray, which is kind of funny if that means anything moving forward. With all guns cocked and pointed to our protagonist, who is seemingly in a different time or a different part of the world because he's looking at his tomatoes in a brightly soaked, sunrised world as he is looking away from the gun. So he doesn't see the imminent danger that's right behind him.
So this is a guy that you talking about doesn't see the danger. His name is Blue, who is an ex special forces or something. lives in a small town. His best friend is a baker, and his wife is the sheriff. And his past catches up to him, but his past is from the future.
Hmm.
So he's out of time and wanted, uh, he's out of time and wanted by the same place who used to employ him. There's much more of than just that, but that's the bones of it.
Hmm.
If
Black
you like,
man, white wife, and biracial child.
hey, interracial,
Interracial love.
interracial love, we're all about it.
And
Um,
I really like that dynamic between the mother and the son early in the
yeah,
comic. I will say about this before you get into yours. Had we just read this as a AA, this would have been an easy boo.
yeah.
But locked into the roll call of what Distillery is looking like, this kind of hits middle ground, and that sucks. But first issue, right? Like this is nothing really new and nothing really as interesting in everything else that we've read.
Yeah.
That even the stuff you like, it's easily forgettable, which is not where you want to be as a comic.
Interesting characters and lots to build on from here, and could be a long runner in terms of bouncing around all the different times. If you go back and listen to our pull list for what would this be at? No, October.
October
Um,
or November,
I was
November.
really high on this comic.
Yeah.
I was like, "This is awesome. This is great." But I can't believe I'm agreeing with you again. It's like when you read it with all of these,
Hmm.
it does fit in, but it doesn't stand out.
Nope.
Whereas when I
It's
read
great
it,
filler. Like
yeah,
I would put this on. Uh, I would put this in my primetime lineup of TV shows, but this wouldn't be the show. Like this is not getting the 9 o'clock time
no,
slot. It's probably getting like 8 o'clock. Like you
the one
start
before, yeah,
or
exactly,
like
just to
seven
warm me
p.m.
up,
Yeah, you're
to warm me up.
leading me in. And while that's great for your network because you have quality shows to watch in a block of time, in terms of comics, you want to be that primetime spot. And again, off of one, this doesn't compare to the rest of the shit that we're getting on that time slot. This
No,
doesn't
but that
get
doesn't make it
close.
bad either. It's just,
But that's worse. Like at
yeah,
least the uninteresting for me is so bad. I'm just like, ah, this was terrible. I would never read this again. Love
yeah,
you.
fair enough. Yeah,
This is
yeah.
like, would I go back to this?
And then you kind of hum and haw, and then you never do, right?
And
So
then I end up reading this stuff. I'm like, oh, this is still stuck in my mind, right? So like, this isn't even bad enough for me to be like catch ire or like catch hate or catch like insults to be like you could improve this and this and this. It's just nothing's really popped off the page yet, and this would have been amazing for you to roll out your starter company with. Like this is the first comic that I put out for
yeah,
everybody mainstream, but I'm bringing them back in with like I'm solidifying them with Blood Brothers, Life Missionary, Somna, like even One for Sorrow. I don't think it's better, but still, there's more going on for it.
yeah,
So yeah, just single AA, boom.
yeah.
But
As like as part of something else,
roster,
yeah,
like
we'll see
middle to
some.
lower, which is
Yeah, it's too bad because it is good. Okay, last one. White boat.
I hate it. Throw it out.
Ri-
It's terrible.
oh, that got me.
Uh.
Written by Scott Snyder, who did a lot of work on Batman and like we're talking about witches with Jock,
Uh-huh.
and drawn by Francesco Francavilla.
Okay. It is an amazing cover.
The cover is really cool.
One of the best covers in this lineup, easily. White Boat has its own pictorial hieroglyph type of font that is distinct to itself. The picture is an eye overlooking a mountain, uh, and on the shoreline there's a boat, and under the water are tentacles. I'm not doing it justice because each individual stroke of all the things I've described, you can see the line work. So it
Mm,
looks like a sketch, which probably is. It looks like Francisco painstakingly, or for the love of, drew each individual line to make this world look so deep and so dangerous and so what's coming beneath the surface is so not what you're ready for. This is easily a cover that you're pulling off the rack and opening to see what's going on inside.
Yeah. And the colors that it has, I'll make it pop too. The green and yellow at
Oh
the
my
top and the red at the bottom.
gosh.
They really contrast in a way that's just
Mm-hmm.
like, and then you don't even notice the white boat in the middle
Nope.
until like you look like you said. It's really, really, really eye catching.
Mm-hmm. Everything else I do not like
Well,
about this
as
book.
for the story, we start with somebody named Kip, and then finish with somebody named Lee, and they both write for boat magazines. Both end up in the same predicament, which is a chance to review the White Boat. Ends up being this magical, creepy, cursed place with all this exclusive paintings and films. That was the coolest part about the book, is that there's like exclusive films, exclusive paintings that only are on the White Boat. I was like, what is going on?
The coolest part about the book is the premise.
Yeah.
Half of that seems pretty cool if you can do it. I don't think they did that. They did a lot in this book, but not for anything that's going to help it because it was too long. It's too much exposition, too much like bouncing around from different characters. And while the art
Was
is
that?
beautiful, I have no idea.
Like, what was the intro? What did that serve?
I don't know. I don't know if that's going to pay off. I don't care if it pays off because it just took more time away from where you're trying to get me. And
And then the twist ending was like, I was like,
it was such a weird way to bookend uh
what?
yeah, an issue with both bad taste in your mouth. Like it's one thing
Yeah.
to start bad and then finish strong, or
No,
start strong and finish bad. It
yeah.
takes a lot of work to start bad and then finish bad, and in the
In
middle
a
you're like,
completely different
ah,
way. It was like,
you're like, this interesting art, but like, what? Who am I reading about now?
yeah,
This was
exactly.
and I love the look of it because it's so like 1980s Miami Vice colors, splash
Hmm.
works. What's the game that you play with the masks? And it's like it's got the
Oh,
crazy soundtracks.
Hotline Miami.
It's like that's a soundtrack I would want for this book.
Yeah.
But what the fuck's with the boats? I don't give a fuck about the boat. Like this should have
Yeah.
been all like race car drivers or like hookers and pimps or like street racers. Like there's so many fun ideas you could have done that the artwork looks like it matches. But this is such a instance of it, like they squeezed artwork to match onto a story that does not serve its purpose. So
It's
like
too bad.
I'm looking at things that are so much interesting and stylized, but like the story's so fucking dry and
Yeah.
boring and garbage, and I hate boats, and I shouldn't hate boats by the end of
Do
this.
you hate boats? Oh,
Like,
this made you
after
hate
reading
boats.
this, yeah,
Okay, fair enough.
after reading this, yeah.
Uh, all right, so that's all 10. We talked about the ones that we didn't read.
I kind of want to read White Boat more,
The second issue's out.
so I can just shit on it
You
because
can do it. You can do it on the next pull list.
that's that. So like that's the make or break. Like you have to be so terrible that I'm frustrated now. Then I talk about it with you, and it's like
Yeah.
I'm gonna read 2 pages. If this 2 pages sucks, which I bet they do, fuck this book. And listen, if you don't know already, White Boat's probably number 10 or number 12 out of 10 that we've read. I think the two we
Is that
haven't.
your last place?
Yeah, it's my last. Easily,
We're
that's the
gonna
worst one.
we read 10 issues, so we ranked them top 3, bottom 1.
Yeah,
What boat's your bottom 1? Big Burn
bottom
is my
bitch.
bottom 1.
Oh,
I liked it
because
less than this. Yeah.
it's so simple and so run of the mill.
Yeah,
So
and here's what differentiates. White Boat was so friggin' weird, and I didn't like how it ended and
begun.
started. But because I'm so confused, I actually would read a second issue just to make sure.
See, yeah.
With Big Burn, I have zero interest in reading another issue.
Well,
Like
you know
that's
exactly the next issue is going to be like the first issue.
yeah.
It's like, oh, how do they get the thing out of the thing again?
Oh,
These guys.
these guys,
I'll see you next week.
and
Yeah.
there's some inner squabbles, and then eventually they just get their
Will they? Won't they?
and then
They
the devil
might.
tricks them, and then
It's good, man. I can't wait to read more Big Burn.
no, that's my bottom one.
It's Big Burn reads like Big Bang Theory Burn.
Yeah, it does. Yes, exactly. Yes, not for me.
No, no laugh track. That's a
What
good
about?
bottom. That's
I
good.
have a feeling that our top 3 could be the same. At least 2 of them.
Mine changed because we talked about
Mine
Somnar,
changed. Some that
and
made my top 3 now.
Somnar's on that. Yeah. So
Yes. Okay. So
I'm looking at what I'm bumping. So we can number 3, Somnar.
Somna.
I think we're both going back to it independently. If you guys are listening to recommendations, go find that book and just check it out because there's 3 out and
Yeah.
that's a good taste. But I have a sneaky suspicion that we'll find a way to talk about this title
Somna.
specifically.
Yeah. It's so unique though. It's really
Yeah,
really cool.
yeah.
That's
It could go so many different ways, and I'm so
yeah
excited for how it
yeah.
will go.
my other another one, I guess, like would be number two, would be the Blood Brothers Mother.
It's good. It's
That's
really
number
good.
two for me because I really, it feels like a gritty western, and
Yeah,
I love it. And when
that
I
was
don't know who to root for, I love that even more.
that was hard, but that's the one I bumped off.
Yeah,
So that's like my
four.
fourth. Yeah. My number two is The Missionary.
Yeah,
And it's because it doesn't take itself seriously. It's a
yeah.
comic that wants to be a comic, and I know it's going to be fun. And the thing is, it could be formulaic. It could be these two do go on the road, and the same sort of thing happens, and they have to get away from the cops and drive off. But I know I'm going to get fun. I know it's going to be interesting. I know the art's going to explode, and I know they're actually building to something because the writer and the artist understand all the other gears that are working around in this world.
In a run of books that we just read that are very mostly very serious, except for Big Burn, who doesn't take it so serious, but it's not funny. This
Hmm.
one is actually funny,
Hmm.
and so the tone fits. And I put that's like probably my fourth now,
Yeah.
top five definitely.
So good. So
Um,
simiate, so Spawn,
yeah,
and then and then Deadpoolish. Like it's got a lot of things going for it that I can only see getting funner.
and number one is obviously we have the same for both, or both of us
Life,
have the same for number one, which is Life.
it's so
So
good.
cool,
It's
so
so
cool.
cool. It's so interesting. It has no reason to be. It's such a simple premise, but I feel like
It's gonna be a good ride though.
the
It's
the
gonna be a
the
good ride.
the writer knows their characters, and the characters gonna end up doing some crazy stuff. So it's
Mister 100 Bullets knows what he's
so
doing.
so moody.
Yeah.
The art matches the writing, and both help elevate each other. Uh, this is the prime time slot. Like you tune in because you want to watch
Yeah.
Life.
Yeah, yeah. This
Yeah.
is the 9 o'clock. This is the 9 o'clock one.
That's a good list, man. I'm
But,
pretty. I'm not surprised that we have the same list, but I'm pretty surprised that they kind of evened out the same way.
yeah, that is interesting. Once we talked about Somna, I was like, this is now in my top three.
Instantly, we're just like, "Ooh, you liked it? Oh, you liked it for this? Yeah, I liked it for this." You're like, "Oh, I didn't even notice this.
The
What does
craziest
this
part is we liked
mean?
about
What
it.
does
We
this
liked it.
mean?"
I know this sounds stupid, but it's like the crazy, coolest thing is that we liked it for the same reasons. I
Yeah.
mean, obviously, because what's good about it is good, but it's just like we hadn't talked about it at all.
Nope. And for me, that lets you know it's undeniable. Like
Mm-hmm.
you can't miss the reason to talk about this book. Like you gonna see this, you're gonna see this, and you see this. It's only gonna add another level if down the line things were metaphors or things were setups or things were different meanings for different things you're trying to expand. Like that's the fun of where we think this book can go. But yeah,
Are we going to come back here for the next releases?
nobody cares.